Okay, it's 101, so let's kick it off. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. This is our 13th semi-weekly Zoom call. Again, by now you probably know I'm Peter Keller, head of the EC board, and I'm joined today by SK Doyle, our associate director of programs and our volunteer coordinator. We've been giving a lot of sobering news over the last several months. So today we want to shift gears a little bit and do something a little bit more positive and focus on gratitude. Obviously gratitude comes in many forms, and it's really, really important to remember that in a time like this. Personally, I can say that my time on the board of EC has been one of the most satisfying and gratifying experiences of my life. And I know from discussions, I can say the same is true for Cecil Ray, who was our founding president, and John Talty, who preceded me as president. I'm just so incredibly proud of and inspired by the response of EC-supported programs and volunteers to help meet the extraordinary needs that we've seen during the COVID pandemic. This has been a long 4 months, and it's going to be, I think, 4 more months. But I'm really certain that when this all ends, when we return to more normal, whatever that is, and however long it takes, I think we'll look back with pride and realize that Episcopal Charities and all of the programs that it supports in assisting so many people across the diocese is really modeling what Michael Curry calls the way of love, and I'm just very happy that we're able to be a support to people. I think all of us who are managing through these very difficult times can come up with many things for which you're grateful, but for so many across the diocese, it's not the same. Those who've been sickened, those who've died, those who've lost jobs, those who have seen businesses close and fail, and those who are suffering, as we see at all of our programs, from food insecurity. The list goes on and on. And as we've noted since the outset, our program office is in regular contact with the outreach programs across the diocese. I know that SK and Patrick have spoken to every single one of our programs, and our goal is to help them during this incredible period of pressure and crisis. These points of contact have helped them to figure out how to deal with all the roadblocks in this emergency. Our staff has helped people look for COVID relief funding from our special fund. Many have applied for assistance, and we continue to look at applications on a weekly basis. Through last week, we had provided emergency grants to 29 separate programs across the diocese. A couple of those programs have come back to us more than once, and we funded grants of over $313,000. And again, we continue to invite you, if you know of programs that have an inability to operate or operate the way they want because of financial constraints, let us know. We're now a little bit more than 4 months since the shelter-in-place orders. We're about 3.5 months since we awarded our first emergency funds. In the last few weeks, some of the programs have had a chance to come up for air long enough to share with us firsthand some of the incredibly inspiring stories of the impact of emergency grants and helping them meet client needs. So SK is going to share with you some stories from the field, and let me turn it over to you, SK.
Great, thanks, Peter. I'm really glad to be with you all today to share some of the stories and messages of gratitude that we've been receiving from our programs. The first reflection that I wanted to share with you is from Hudson Link for Higher Education in Prison, which was one of the first programs that received an emergency grant from us at the beginning of the pandemic. In addition to providing access to education for incarcerated people, Hudson Link supports their students and alumni as they come home. So this support is particularly essential during this time of unemployment and economic crisis that these alum were re-entering at the start of the pandemic and have continued to as they've come home in the past months. So the emergency grant that Hudson Link received through Episcopal Charities allowed them to provide some small stipends to recently released Hudson Link alum to ease their transition, which we know is always a difficult transition, but was all the more challenging given our current moment. And the staff at Hudson Link shared some of the messages of thanks from the recipients of these grants, and so I wanted to share one with you. He writes, "For many coming home from the cold, having the ability to satisfy basic needs, food, clothing, shelter, is always paramount to one's continued commitment to rehabilitation. When I received this stipend from Hudson Link, I was grateful to know that people are interested in helping me with this important step in my life. With this, I'm able to buy essential toiletries and some amount of clothes. For me, this helped to settle some anxieties I was having due to being currently unemployed because of the effects of the coronavirus. Fortunately, the Hudson Link program has been true to their word about assistance upon re-entering, and I am humbled and appreciative to be part of such alumnus. Thank you guys for this, and God bless. Some of the other messages of gratitude that we've been getting recently have come in the form of quick texts and emails. In one of the previous of these semi-weekly calls, Patrick spoke a little about how we're working to leverage our relationships that we have with these many programs throughout the diocese so that we can find out where there's additional need, where there's additional resources, and how we can make those connections and bridge those gaps. In the last few weeks, we've been working with one of our programs who had literal tons of additional food and produce that they weren't going to be able to distribute. And so in being able to sit down in conversation with them, we were able to connect them with two of our programs who need the additional food to meet the growing need in their communities. So Patrick and I now get regular text messages and emails with pictures of this beautiful produce that both programs have gotten into the hands of their neighbors at their weekly distributions. One text that I got this week said, "Thank you so very much. The produce was donated with love and our people were elated." And we always love to see pictures from our programs, and seeing these photos of this nutritious and beautiful food that was carefully prepared and packed and delivered by one of our programs to another has been especially meaningful. And we've also been hearing from our summer programs and their gratitude for our support as they're kicking off virtual and in-person programming in the next few weeks. One summer camp that we heard from recently is operating in person up in Region 2. And their staff wrote to us this week saying camp size will be 50 campers, and most of them will be homeless kids from a local shelter in White Plains. We're very excited to be able to offer this opportunity to our kids who have been cooped up in the shelter for so long. And another program in the city is operating online, and they began their programming last week, offering a combination of academics and arts offerings online. Their director shared with me that it has been great fun and that it makes her think of ideas for future opportunities that she wouldn't have thought of without working through this process of building a virtual camp, right? So she says it takes a lot of work to pull together a good virtual program, and she's learning a lot. And I wanted to share these messages from our summer camps, who are not only grateful for the support Episcopal Charities has given all of our programs to meet basic needs of our neighbors, but that our support means that these programs can feel excited about these creative and fun opportunities for kids who've been stuck at home. It means that our programs can offer physical and virtual spaces of learning and joy and community that might not be otherwise possible. And lastly, I wanted to share a story from another food pantry we partner with, who has felt the strain on the emergency food network that the pandemic has brought about, as food prices have been going up and certain foods have been difficult to get a hold of. St. James Fordham came to us at the beginning of the pandemic concerned that they wouldn't be able to staff their pantry, which is in a high need area, and like a lot of programs that we support, relies on the generosity of volunteers from the congregation who are often older and more vulnerable and at risk for COVID, so they haven't been able to safely volunteer. So since April, in addition to an emergency grant, Episcopal Charities has partnered with St. James to sponsor their pantry with volunteer support. So we've recruited and screened and trained a group of younger and healthy volunteers for the pantry's monthly distribution. And so I just wanted to close by reading from a note that we got from Father Matt Oprendeck, the rector at St. James, which I keep coming back to this week as a sign of hope and a reminder of the work that we're able to do at Episcopal Charities in the face of these really incredible times. So he writes, "As our nation confronts systemic racism and our ongoing pandemic, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. I find myself asking, what can I do? And then I remember you. I remember how you keep on providing support and how your support ensures that St. James Food Pantry can keep on feeding our hungry sisters and brothers, and how we strive to heal our community one meal at a time. With COVID and the economic downturn, we have served twice the number of people that normally come through our doors. It's over 700 meals worth of healthy food, all passed out in just over an hour. Thank you for being a sign of hope and for doing your part. We'll keep doing ours. I'll turn it back over to you, Peter.
Thanks, SK, and thanks for sharing those stories. You know, at times we can get overwhelmed with all the bad news and negativity out there. So it's just so good to hear good news during this period. I also would commend to any of you out there, if you want another really uplifting message. I know all of our bishops are posting weekly video meditations on the Episcopal Diocese of New York website. And last week, Bishop Dici gave a very passionate address, and he talks a lot about inequality and racial issues across the country, but he also speaks of the disparity between those of us, and he's saying this as a white man living in New York who can work from home and get a paycheck, as so many of us are able to do, who are safe and who are healthy and are not in danger of eviction or hungry. And then all the others out there who are really suffering now, and many of them suffering so that we can continue in our daily lives. Those are the first responders, they're the food delivery people, they're the restaurant delivery people. So one of the things we're very conscious of at Episcopal Charities is that our work, the work of our programs, is more important now than it's ever been before. And we remain dedicated to the ongoing work of outreach during this pandemic. People are stressed emotionally, they're stressed financially, they're stressed from a health standpoint, but we're going to continue to reach out to communities and help them meet the needs. Continuing with our theme of gratitude, you know, we're grateful to everyone out there who's contributed to the COVID Relief Fund, to all of those who've stepped up to volunteer, to those who have either donated PPE or helped sew PPE. We certainly couldn't do what we're doing, and our staff I'm just so proud of the work all of our staff is doing, but we could not do what we're doing without support from so many of you out there, and we thank you. And it really is heartwarming to see what you're doing. The needs continue. If you haven't donated or would like to, please do. If you would like to volunteer, because we continue to see programs where volunteers are just really kind of maxed out. So if you're looking to volunteer, you can look on our website for resources or call our office. The programs continue to need extra hands to help serve the people that rely on them. It's a great way to support programs, but it's also, I think you'll find you get an awful lot out of it. It's just really inspiring to see what you can do to help other people. We still need masks, so the diocese got a big chunk of masks to use in parish life, but if you've got PPE, please let us know. We'll make sure we get into the field. And again, I'll repeat, all of this stuff can be found on the COVID-19 tab on our website, www.ec-ny.org. You know, again, we thank you for all your ongoing interest. It's been a long, long run. We appreciate your help. We're happy to answer any questions. If you've got any, I'll remind you that our next call takes place August 5th. So questions, otherwise we'll let you go and enjoy your steamy New York afternoon.
I have not seen any questions so far.
People are too hot to ask questions. It's too miserable in New York today. Okay, so we'll let you all go. Again, call us with questions, call us with suggestions. If you want to volunteer, if you know people that have special needs that aren't being met, let us know. And we're going to do our best to meet the need as much as we can. And again, our staff is talking to programs regularly to help share ideas and help share ways to get food, to get services to people in need, to help make sure that kids have summer programs accessible to them, either virtually or online. So let us know. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.